How's it going everybody, Rival Rai here and welcome back to the channel. Now, you're going to see the title of this video and think I'm making no sense whatsoever, because there's no way a game that's currently out could learn from a game that only has one trailer to it. And I get that, but stick around. Now, nearly a year ago I made a video on the major issues with TCG Live, and where it has major problems and needs to improve. Other than fitting in with YouTube's algorithm with the title, I really wanted to highlight the game's potential and what it needed to do to be successful, so that it could be a big draw and give Pokemon its true TCG representation in an online format. With the bugs that have existed, the somewhat lifeless interface, coupled with no ability to play single player to gain rewards, as well as not carry over some liked features from the game that it replaced in TCG Online, it's become an underwhelming experience that doesn't really show the game's true potential, nor truly reflect the domination Pokemon has in the market. All you have to do is look at YouTube and see card pack openings, the competitive play, and the sheer amount of cards that have been sold so far by Pokemon. When you look at a snapshot of the current TCG online gaming market, Pokemon TCG Live sits near the bottom end of the genre in terms of experience and enjoyability. While we don't necessarily have a lot of statistical data to go on, and statistical data is king, just looking at the downloads for TCG Live to Master Duel on phone, as well as the reviews, show an indication that fan perception of TCG Live is nowhere near the aforementioned game or other games such as Hearthstone. And that's not to say that the games don't have their own issues, but the clear gap in user enjoyability across these games is pretty noticeable. I personally don't feel TCG Live has made many strides in terms of changes, from either the original beta or full release last year that warrant a video that isn't a regurgitation of my previous one. So if you want to see me highlight the major problems of TCG Live, make sure to watch the video on screen that highlights these issues. Instead, a major development has happened due to the announcement of a different game, one that I feel leaves TCG Live in a precarious position. Pokemon TCG Pocket was announced at the most recent Pokemon Presents as a mobile app that will run simultaneously with TCG Live. You may think, well, why do we need another one when the previous one isn't up to scratch and needs work on it? I personally feel this is down to two separate reasons. The first is analysing the market you are in and using clearly successful strategies that work for other companies to capitalise on. When looking at the trailer, you can see a battle system that's a bit more of a simplification of the TCG, and this definitely opens up the market to more casual players. A strategy used very successfully by Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. Duel Links has now been downloaded over 150 million times, including 50 plus million on phone, and features a more watered down version of the card game. Now, a simplified version can draw in many more casual players due to its easy to understand mechanics. With the XYZ, Link, Pendulum, Ultra Mega Chicken 19 chain combos nowadays, Yu-Gi-Oh! Can be pretty daunting to someone who's not played the game for so long, or even new players, so a more simplistic format can be a bit more appealing to a casual audience. Often looking at the current video game market is important to get a key to success for a business plan. Let's flash back over 10 years and do a quick comparison of Xbox and PlayStation. The consoles are in very close battles with the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. When the PS4 and Xbox One came around, PlayStation looked at the market and things Xbox did in order to take strides forward and improve the console. PlayStation introduced the party system, which is now a very common feature on these consoles, but was never available on the original PlayStation 3, but was on the Xbox 360. It then took advantage of one of the most disastrous conferences that have ever happened when the Xbox One was announced at E3 2013. Sony's conference was after Microsoft's, and it used its placement in the schedule to troll the crazy decisions Xbox were looking at implementing, which resulted in the fantastic "here's how you share games" clip, alongside the PlayStation 4 supports second-hand games, so on and so forth. It was an effective and good marketing strategy that really secured its place as the fully dominant console of the two. While Pokemon are a dominant video game market, consistently ranking as one of the best sold on the consoles they are on, alongside a fantastic TCG market, the combination of the two have not been successful so far. But Yu-Gi-Oh! On the other hand has. Alongside the success of Duel Links, Master Duel has now gone on to be downloaded over 60 million times as of April 2024, giving them both the simplified version and the ability to fully play Yu-Gi-Oh! The adaptation of it into the market and copying the ideas that have been successful so far, even if it's looking at another company, is a step in the right direction for creating something that works for the Pokemon team. By doing the simplification, it gets those who are casual players interested while also getting the core players involved to some degree. You may think, well, why not do that in the first place? Why release TCG Live first, instead of following the format that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has used so far? Well, this leads into the second reason behind Pokemon TCG Pocket, and that's about the team that have made it. Without trying to get too convoluted, the team that make up Pokemon Company include Nintendo, Game Freak, and Creatures Inc., alongside some subsidiaries as well. Creatures Inc. are the one that are responsible for making the TCG cards, including designs and licensing. However, despite being the main team behind the entire card game, they have had no involvement with Pokemon TCG Live. Instead, Pokemon TCG Live is being dealt with by Pokemon Company International, which are a subsidiary of Pokemon Company, and this game replaced Pokemon TCG Online, which was made by Direwolf and licensed by Pokemon Company International. Pokemon TCG Pocket is going to be made by Creatures Inc., meaning the involvement of those who produced the Pokemon TCG is now a key part of the online game. This is a pretty significant development because TCG Live is seen to be a dire experience compared to what it should be. And while TCG Online was liked to a degree, we finally now have a project that's made by the guys who deal with the TCG cards themselves. Coupled with quite a dynamic trailer that showed some key uplifts to what we're currently used to, including seemingly daily packs, as well as dynamic pack animations. This unfortunately leaves TCG Live in a bit of a precarious position. TCG Live is currently available on phone and PC, with no console port, which is quite surprising for it when you consider the other games like Unite, which are cross-platform, means TCG Live could be losing a little bit of its market. The game's critics will naturally turn their attention to a game that on initial release looks like it could be a lot better due to the care that's put into it, especially considering it's by the people who are fully responsible for the current TCG. This naturally means that attention is going to be drawn away from a game that's currently already flailing. As such, that's why I think it's important for fans to acknowledge the flaws that TCG has. I think sometimes as fans for, well, anything really, we try to sugarcoat it and try to be nice about a situation that unfortunately is quite negative. After all, we all want the best product possible, and the reality is TCG Live has fallen quite flat as an experience due to the lifeless UI, not enough to do, no daily content keeping you logging in every day, and generally clunky issues from screen to screen. But it can be so much more than that. As I've already mentioned, the trailer of TCG Pocket seemed to show that we were going to get daily packs, as well as a fun and imaginative pack animation that doesn't feel, well, dull. Most importantly, the fan reaction initially from the TCG Pocket trailer are an indication that these sort of changes shown are what TCG Live needs to incorporate to be successful and almost rebuild its reputation. When it replaced TCG Online, which again had its own issues, it was generally liked as an option of playing the card game. And instead of expanding and improving on some well-liked features in the game to make it a better one, it actually subtracted instead of added. Granted, they were developed by different teams, but it was already on the back foot when it simply shouldn't have been. Now, it's generally dependent on what the master plan for Pokemon team is, as it seems so far these games are gonna run concurrently with each other. Pokemon have at times not learned from previous criticism, which has frustrated fans including myself. You just have to look at the discourse behind Scarlet and Violet when it comes to the performance. Despite the positives that are in the game, we've still not improved on those issues. Running both concurrently makes sense if they copy the model that Yu-Gi-Oh has taken. With Duel Links being incredibly popular and Master Duel also being quite popular, you can have the simplistic format for the casual players, while also having the other for the major players who love the competitive side and prefer the original format. After that, if you want to branch out and use other ideas such as Cross Duel, which ultimately did not work, you can afford to take a risk once it's successful. I don't think Pokemon can in terms of the TCG Online market anymore. I think they really need a banker because by downloads and playability it's fell behind not only the rest of the TCG Online market, but also other Pokemon entities like Pokemon Unite and Master ZX. And there's certainly a lot of what ifs here. Pokemon team could be planning to bring in Pokemon Duel Links to reset their current position, phase out Pokemon Master Duel to bring in another version, once Pokemon Duel Links has established itself. But if they decide to run both concurrently, then it's important that the team behind the Pokemon TCG Live, which yes, depending on its size, could have its limits, try to learn from the reaction to Pokemon TCG Pocket that Pokemon fans who are really into the cards just want a proper interactive online version of the game that makes them feel involved, where you can not only collect cards, but play too. For a franchise so successful, it shouldn't flounder, it should thrive. As a United fan, that feels completely ironic, but it's at an important crossroads now. And hey, I could say this now, and Pokemon TCG Pocket could end up being a microtransactional, advertisement-heavy mess that completely wipes out your phone and is even worse than TCG Live. Who knows? But at a minimum, we should be excited by Pokemon TCG Pocket, and hope that it leads to a new dawn for Pokemon TCG Live, because we simply need a way to play Pokemon competitively in an online version that lives up to expectations. Let's hope we're heading in the right direction. Thanks for watching, guys. So, it's time to throw it over to the comments. How's everybody feeling about Pokemon TCG Live right now? Where do you think Pokemon TCG Pocket will fit into the TCG narrative? Make sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps out the channel, and follow me on Twitter for some more terrible Pokemon opinions. See you guys.